Mhm. Hey Jesse, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you?
Doing good, man. How about yourself?
Doing great, brother.
Awesome. I'm sorry I'm not turning my camera on. I'm in a hospital with my mom.
Okay.
Um, but yeah,
Well,
what's
Carlos
good,
is here
bro?
too. Carlos is
Yeah.
here. So I'm sorry to hear that your mom's in the
Yeah,
hospital, man. No, I'm
Thank you,
you
brother.
know doing my day to day. Just got a property under contract. Uh, so I have to go out and see it tomorrow and make sure everything seems legit on it. But
Rats, brother.
good
yeah,
stuff, bro.
so hopefully it's gonna be an innovation. That's what I'm shooting for. Um, I actually met the guy couple months ago at a closing. He was the notary that comes out to like sign the paperwork with the people. And he was like, "Hey,
Mhm.
do you have any knowledge about foreclosures?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And he was like, "Oh, my friend's going through one right now. Do you mind if I get your card?" So I gave him my card. Well, then the guy reached out to me last week, and we played phone tag a little bit, but went back and forth. And he ended up coming clean that it's actually him that's in foreclosure. Um, but he's like $145,000 delinquent on his mortgage.
Wow.
Um, but it's a big house. Like the
How
house
much
right
is it
across.
worth?
um, Probably around like if it was like fixed up and done nicely, probably 540 to 550. In its current condition, probably 500. But
Wow.
he's willing to go under contract for what he owes to pay off the bank, which is 445. And the house right across the street is a 4 bedroom, 2.5 bath that just sold for 500,000 in like a week on the market. So I'm looking at this like if I can get it under contract for 445, it's not a huge deal, but even if I try and blow it out and sell it quick at 500,000, I'm still walking away with at least 470. And if there's any repairs that come up, like the roof or the furnace or any of that type of shit, I'll just negotiate it as like seller credits. Like okay, I was gonna make 30,000, now I'll make 22,000. I'll give you 8 grand towards a new roof type of thing.
It's like a plan, brother.
Yeah,
Congrats.
yeah, hope it
All right,
works
we
out.
have a couple attendees here, so I'm letting them in. All right.
Yeah, man, I'm ready to rock and roll.
Okay.
Good stuff.
You got it, brother. You rock and roll.
Got a good handout to be able to give to people, put in the chat, so that way they
Not
can
really.
have that, and we'll talk about a little bit of everything.
Rock
Yeah,
and roll. Good evening, everyone.
Sorry about that. Awesome. Yeah, I know a couple more people are probably going to be getting on. If anybody wants to send out a message on the Facebook group, just reminding people that we're going live right now, because I know normally Esteban, I think, broadcasts it onto the Facebook group. So if you guys want to send out a reminder of that,
You got it.
and
Would you please, Charlie?
I'll do it right now.
You got it.
And welcome everyone who came tonight. Andrew, Marianne.
Hello, hello.
what's up? How are you doing,
Oh yeah.
Rockstar?
Hi there. I'm supposed to have my bear with me, you guys. It's kind of mommy duties right now. Taking care of my two girls. So I'll be hopping in and show my face there, okay? But I am here with you guys.
We believe you.
How's everyone
Um,
doing? We got us I hope to actually have more people here. So
For
more
sure.
people were merrier.
Uh, we can have more people if you bring your girls in. Actually,
Ah,
as just Andrew just did. So it's not two attendees, but three with the baby girl. Is the baby girl or baby boy?
Baby
I
Bob.
got I got two baby girls. I got two girls.
Bring
Yeah.
him in.
Right, right. Well, the other one, I don't think you want her on the background. She's a year old. She's gonna be making a lot of noise, and we'll all be distracted here.
Just keep her mute. Yeah.
Uh, but good to be here, you guys. Thank you for having this call. I'm excited.
Absolutely.
Thanks for being
So,
here.
sorry, I just had to get some files moved around on my computer so I could see and know what's going on. I
Hmm.
forget that you guys don't ever like see that, like we don't see each other's setups. So like I know sometimes I probably look crazy because I'll be like looking down here. It's
Hmm.
because I'm an asshole and I spend money on asshole type things. So I have like a ginormous monitor um, for a computer screen. I mean, I normally you don't need a 60-inch computer screen to sit in front of your face. So like when I'm like looking around, it's because it's such a goddamn big monitor that I'm like down here looking to see what something says because I run like 6 different windows on it. So I apologize. But so listen, guys, we're gonna jump right into this tonight. Um, so what we're going to be talking about tonight is overcoming actual objections, right? And the reason why is because I know a lot of times, either on the lead conversion training, when I'm talking to folks one on one, a lot of times the questions that come up are like, how do we structure this type of deal? What do you say if this is what they say? And it's kind of tough sometimes to be able to be like, well, here's exactly what you should say. Because for me, I've been doing it so long that sometimes I feel like I've forgotten more than most people would learn. And I don't mean that like in a braggadocious way, but it's just like a lot of that stuff just it's stirring around in my brain. So if they say, I have to think about it or this, if you ask me that 5 days in a row, I'd probably give you 5 different answers on how to cover it. But I know when I was new in sales in general, I was a big pushover. I was the guy that, like, as soon as they said no, it was like, all right, that's it. They said no, pack it up. Nice to meet you. Thanks so much for your time. I'll never talk to you again. And I had to learn how to kind of be able to push through some of that. And as I learned and got better and refined my technique and learned about, how your pitch of your voice matters and your body language matters, the one thing that I was really lacking on for myself back then was I started to understand the concept of closing. I started to understand about maybe bringing my tone of voice down some or using voice inflection to control the conversation a little better. But I wasn't learning what to actually say. So my mannerisms were getting better for myself if I was in person, but I wasn't actually opening my brain to dump in new information on, hey, this is what you say if they say this. And it took somebody kind of sitting down and showing me that like you're getting really good at the active listening part. You're getting really good at knowing what their objection is, but you haven't done anything about actually overcoming the objection. And since this is an objections challenge, that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, right? We're going to talk about getting an objection, even if you're brand new and you needed to, excuse me, save the document that I shared with you guys and literally read off of it step by step. It's designed to be able to actually overcome the objection. Now, before we get into that, though, let's talk about what are the most common objections we're going to hear. I want a high price, like retail type price, right? We're going to hear things like maybe I need to think about it. You hear things like I'm already talking to another investor. I'm working with another investor already. I've already talked to your competition, things like that. You're going to maybe hear something like I want a higher price or your price is too low. If you're doing a lot of outbound marketing, like outbound calling, you'll hear things like, I don't want to sell right now. I'm not looking to sell. I know I used to hear one because there's another company that was doing this for a longer time in my area, and they had kind of built up a bad reputation. They're not around anymore. But I would hear people say things like, I've had bad experiences, especially if they understood what wholesaling was and what we were going to try and do. We would hear that. And then again, going back to retail price. So, what we did a long time ago, some of this stuff might even be a little bit outdated for what we're going to be discussing right now. But I had made like a list that we could, I was always real big on handouts for people. So I wanted to make things dummy proof to where I could give you, like, hey, if they say this objection, this is what you say back to them to respond. And I learned that from doing it that way, for people that didn't have a lot of like sales grit, like a lot of just natural, like they don't mind that tough conversation. They don't mind being a little combative with a person over a price or something like that. If they didn't have that type of skill set, knowledge, or confidence, what I learned was that from giving them this, it gave them that foundation, like that place to start, that they could start to build off of. Because once they started to know this and they were able to start to repeat this back to people without having to look at it or read off the sheet, they would find themselves getting deeper and more involved in the conversation with the seller. And as they started to get deeper and more involved, they started realizing, hey, I'm able to dig out more pain points. I'm able to uncover the real motivation, not just the motivation we talked about during the call, but the real motivation. And the reason why they were picking that stuff up was because they realized that sometimes you have to remember that the thing that beats resistance is persistence. So even though a person may say no, they're not telling you no, like Marion, no, your offer is no good. They're saying, I don't know enough to be able to make that decision yet, right? And the reason that this ties into everything that we're talking about, guys, what we're talking about tonight, is because during your call, during your discovery call, we should be trying to pull out those objections, right? We should be digging into what's going on as far as the property condition, their current situation, what their motivations are. We should be uncovering those. And the reason why is like what we talked about yesterday. You have a shovel, but it's up to you to dig for the gold. Well, when they find gold, if you watched a TV show or ever saw it on YouTube, it doesn't come out looking like a Rolex watch. It's a crusty, dirty little nugget that they got to clean up and polish, right? So our leads and our potential deals are out there, but it's the exact same thing, right? As we do that discovery call, we start to find those crusty little nuggets, right? And then as we move through that call, we start to polish and shine them and start to get them cleaned up. And then at the very end, when we're hoping to get a deal, sometimes the seller throws a bunch of dirt back onto our nicely shined nugget, right? And it's up to us as acquisition specialists to be able to sit there and say, oh, I appreciate you throwing that dirt onto my nugget because it gave me more time to polish it and to smooth it out so that now when I give it back to you, it's even better than it was before, right? That's all closing is. It's just having a dialogue with a person and trying to broach the distance between where you are and where they are and trying to bridge that gap, whether it's through negotiation, whether it's through verbal dialogue and overcoming and discussing the objection together, or whether it's through physically sitting down and showing them comparable properties that sold it much cheaper than what they're asking for. Whatever it is, it's your chance to be shining that nugget or turning that rock into a deal for yourself that you can take to the bank, right? So the thing that I shared, if you guys want to pull it up, or I can just share my screen, that might make it easier. Give me 1 second.
Everyone, make sure you guys download it because it's good reference for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I share this stuff with you guys. Like, it's not stuff that you're going to find on the internet. This, like anything that I ever share, it's not something that's like I took from somebody else's course. Not that there's anything bad about anybody else's course. I'm only saying that as in this is my original stuff. So you won't see this coming from like, oh, I saw the same thing in somebody else's type of thing. And the reason why is because honestly, when I created most of this stuff, I never expected to be sharing it. That's why sometimes you'll see things that'll be like very market specific as I start to share more stuff with you guys. And the reason why is it's great reference material. But if it says like, you know, in the York, PA area or the Harrisburg market, it's not like I expect somebody in Texas to be saying the Harrisburg market. It's just because it's very item specific for my company. But either way, so anyways, can you guys all see my screen right now? Yes?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Thumbs up?
Yep.
Put a thumbs up or something? Okay, good, good,
Yeah.
good. All right, so I'm gonna basically just go through these with you guys. If I can get anybody to role play along with me, that's fine. If not, I'm gonna just kind of read them off, and then after we go through each one, we can kind of discuss it. And if you guys have any feedback or you guys want to try it, feel free. Because again, I'd love to have you guys be as involved as you can. But a common one, and the reason why number one is I need to think about it, is because when we're training a new acquisitions person, that's the easiest way to get somebody off the phone, right? That's like sellers pre-programmed response is like, all right, well, hey, I appreciate it, and I'm going to think about it, and I'll talk to you in a few days, right? So we started to realize, hey, when we're bringing on these onboarding acquisitions people, we're burning through leads. We can't afford that. Like, we cannot afford to have somebody cut their teeth and start to learn how to have a good conversation by wasting good valid leads that we've already warmed up, that have communicated like these people are looking for a cash offer on their home. I can't burn that postcard by letting, Joe New Guy sit here and have a horrible conversation with them and then trying to salvage it after they've already destroyed the call, destroyed the rapport, everything else. That's not going to work out. So these were literally me sitting down with my old business partner and saying, like, all right, I'm going to record you and we're going to have a conversation. And then we took that conversation, like how I would be talking to people, and we put it into text, so that we could actually take it and be like, look, this is Jesse talking. All you have to say is this. So if Jesse has to take over your call, it's the same like momentum and tone, right? So the most common one that we would hear was, I need to think about it. So that was the first one that we wanted to challenge people on to learn. And again, for me, my whole thing is always confidence breeds excellence, and excellence is just success done repeatedly over and over. It's consistently being good. So I wanted to build up a brand new person in acquisitions confidence and teach them that it's okay to power through. So I wanted to give the first and the most common objection they're going to hear, when, especially if they were doing outbound calling. That way, they started to get the confidence that, like, hey, if I hear this, I can push through it, because then they're going to be more apt to embracing and learning the other ones. So a common one is, I need to think about it, right? So the first thing with I need to think about it is, you don't want to argue with them, and you don't want to try and sound like you're trying to be argumentative. That's why you'll notice the very first part of the sentence is, I understand, right? I know I've said on the calls before, this is a little bit more dated in my selling career. I've said on the calls before, anything that anybody ever says, you should always respond with perfectly understandable. In this one, I said, I understand. But the reason why is because when we're talking about active listening, if we want to be able to overcome the objection, we need to be able to have the right frame of mind in the seller's mindset. And that right frame of mind is not that we're combative, not that we're trying to be argumentative, but that we're empathetic and that we're listening and we understand what they're saying to us. So it just says, I understand, hey, this is a big decision. But waiting too long definitely can cost us opportunities in life. What specific concerns do you have, Carlos? And how would we be able to tackle them together? Right? So why did we phrase it? Why do I phrase it like that? Well, the reason why is because you'll notice throughout, as we go through this, a lot of the things say we, us, our, those types of words. And the reason why is because when we've taught acquisitions and when I do acquisitions, I always preach that we're on the seller's team, right? So I'm like their all-star quarterback that just got brought in to make sure they can sell this house. They get the best offer for it. It's a smooth transaction and they walk away happy. I'm the star player, but I need that center. I need that tight end, and that's who they are. So I want them to feel like we're on a team and that we're trying to accomplish this goal together. So the first reason I say that is because when we're talking about what specific concerns do you have and how about we tackle them right now, it's trying to invite them to be like, hey, you can open up more. Let's have this conversation. Now, I'm not saying that every single one of these, right, is going to be the difference between getting the deal. What this is trying to do, and what I was intentionally trying to do when I created this, was have a way for an acquisitions agent to be on the phone with somebody, get an objection in real time, be able to raise their hand because we had an acquisitions room and I could see their phone call. I would listen in immediately on my headset and I all of a sudden would be involved. So if they brought me in for a takeover, like a TO on the call, and said something like, honestly, I really think this deal could work out. Do you mind if I just put you on hold for 1 second? I want to see if my manager's available to look at this right now. The reason they would do that was if they felt like, because they were brand new, that they were starting to lose the call, this would give them something to say to be able to give that relay of like, hey, I'm going to need you on this one. So even if the person was like, yeah, sure, I'll wait a few seconds to be put on hold, I was already listening in on the call. So as soon as they said that, they were on hold for 5 seconds. They came back on. Hey, are you there, Sue? Great. Hey, listen, I was able to talk to my manager, Jesse. Jesse, are you there? Hey, Sue, how's it going? I'm already on the call and I'm taking it over. So again, this was just to try and keep the conversation going, to keep them trying to talk to us, and to see if we can try and dig deeper to try and pull out any real motivations or objections. So again, it's what specific concerns do you have, and how about we tackle them right now? Because I appreciate, Carlos, that you would want to think about it, but my offer can't last forever. So how about we set a time to decide within the next couple of days? I don't want to be the guy that's like, look, my thing's only good for 10 minutes or 5 hours, but I would definitely need an answer. And I want you to benefit from this offer while it's still on the table. So if everything we discuss sounds good to you, why don't we take the next step and get the ball rolling? Because I can assure you, Carlos, I'm going to strive to make this the easiest sale ever. Now, that's a lot of conversation, and that's doing a lot of talking instead of a lot of listening. But you don't have to use this all in like a conversational format. These are little snippets to be able to overcome the objection, address it, and keep the conversation moving forward. Because what sellers will do is, maybe you guys have had this happen before, where a seller will give you an objection and then they feel like, that's it. I shut him down. Carlos is finished. I just told him I need to think about it. Therefore, this conversation is over. So what these are designed to do is just be able to say, hey, we're still talking, bring them right back into the conversation and to keep that dialogue going. Carlos, you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you if you can also give us a rundown of like when is more typical to hear to this objection, like at the beginning of the call, toward the end of the call, or something like that, based on your experience.
Yep. Good point. So again, the whole point of the discovery call is to bring out these objections. So as the objection comes up, that's when I want to address it. So if I'm in the middle of talking about, let's say the bathroom, for example, and I say, wow, I mean, everything sounds great about the information you've given. I mean, just out of curiosity, if we were able to come to an agreement on price, is there anything that would stop you from moving forward today? And they say, well, I mean, I'd need to think about it. Hey, I totally understand. It's a significant decision. But remember, waiting too long definitely can cost us some opportunities in life. I mean, do you have any concerns that would, specifically stop you from moving forward, Carlos? And I'm going to address that objection when it comes up. Again, the whole point of the discovery call is to pull out the objection. So I want to address it when it comes up and then move on with the call. Because, sorry if I'm yelling, I'm just a little hype. But, the whole point of a sales call is a progressive ladder, right? It's supposed to start down here and emotionally transcend a staircase, so that by the time we're at the top, the only natural conclusion from both the seller and the buyer is to agree this is a perfect fit. Let's make a deal, right? The problem is that if we wait and we allow the objection to come out down here on step one, and then we go through step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Now we're at step 6 when we're actually asking for the sales order, the purchase agreement. and now we decide we're going to address the objection up here on step 6, emotionally, mentally, we just drug that person right back down to step 1, right? Whereas if I'm down on step 1 and that's when they give me the first objection, I want to handle it on step 1 so that as we progress up the sales ladder to step 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, we don't have to worry about that objection anymore because we've already discussed it, we've handled it, and now that's out of the way. Does that make sense? As well as if it comes back up at the end of the call, then we're going to only revert back to what we covered before. Exactly. So if, it comes back up at the end, like, well, like I said, I told you I would have to think about it. Oh yeah, I totally remember that, Carlos. But do you remember when we talked about it? We did agree, blah, 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 and that we wouldn't have to think about that. So let me ask you, what's really stopping you from moving forward today? Again, I'm just going to hear the objection, cover it, move on. Does that work for you, Carlos?
It does. You remind me of that picture that I just sent, um, of two different ladders. One ladder is easier to jump, and the other one has like big steps. So, like, which one do people prefer? People typically prefer the stair on the left.
Okay, perfect.
Yep. So I just got reminded of that, and I just sent it in the chat.
Awesome. Number 2 is just I want a higher price. With this one, I think that people mentally, it helps us to reframe the value, right? Because when we're reframing the value, it's just having a conversation with somebody. Like Carlos, I hear what you're saying about wanting a higher price, but remember that I have cash and am offering to close really quickly. I mean, how much would you say the stress and the uncertainty of putting it on the market and hoping an offer comes in is worth to you? Let's not forget the offer on the table is guaranteed. Like, what you're walking away with. And then if we have to, we can leverage the competition, right? If I can be honest, Carlos, there's some reputable investors out there and some not so reputable ones, if you know what I mean. The last thing I'd want to see is you get caught up with one of those guys. So I'd like to make this happen with you. How about we work together to agree on a number that can benefit both of us? And I'm asking a question that's inviting a direct yes or no, right? So a lot of times we say we don't want to ask yes or no questions because we'll get yes or no answers. But if I'm actually asking for the order, it's perfectly okay to ask an open-ended question like, how about we work together, Carlos, to see if we can come up with a number that benefits us both? He's going to either say, yeah, sure, let's do it. Or he's going to say, no, that's okay. If he says, yeah, sure, let's do it, what do I know? He's open to doing a deal right here and right now. If he says, well, I need to hear a little bit more information, this is just letting me know, hey, perfectly fine. The call's going great. Keep moving forward with it, right? And then if I have to, this is kind of a test. So let's say I'm on my discovery call, and let's say we've talked about the inside of the home so far. We've talked about what their vision is, what their perfect outcome is going to be. Sometimes I like to check the temperature, right? So I might ask them something like, hey, Marion, if you're serious about selling, I'm serious about buying. And I can't stress enough how valuable a quick cash offer is, because if we sign today, we close fast. That means you walk away with cash in your pocket sooner. You wouldn't have a problem with that, would you? Okay, perfect. They're going to always say no, of course not, right? It's setting them up to get them comfortable with the idea of, hey, this could be a deal today. I can get this done right here and right now, right? And then if they're saying something like, I'm already working with another investor, right? I'm not telling you to do anything unethical or unlegal or not legal, right? So it is important for me to make sure I clarify on this. If they say they're already under contract with another investor, then be respectful and back off. I can't tell you how many times I've had somebody say like, "Oh, I've already talked with another investor. I'm already working with somebody else." Oh, great. Did they give you an agreement of sale yet? No, I talked to him 3 months ago, but I haven't heard back from him yet. You know what I mean? Those types of leads come in all the time for me. So I want to position myself as a better option to another investor. And with this one, I make it pretty generic because I don't want people doing something that's shady or wrong or unethical or anything like that. So it's more of trying to position yourself as maybe a better option. Like, oh, that's great to hear, Carlos. But remember, not all investors are created equal. I mean, what I can offer you is probably better terms, maybe even a faster closing. If you don't have anything in writing from them, why don't we explore these options together? Create an urgency to switch. Carlos, I understand, like we talked about before, there is some good ones and some bad ones out there. The only thing I can say is it's a little startling to me if this guy's saying he wants to buy the property that he hasn't done anything yet. If things aren't moving as quickly as you'd like with that investor, I could potentially step in and move much, much quicker. I mean, are you interested in seeing what I can offer before making a final commitment? Right? Especially if I find out that they've been getting other offers from other people and are kind of trying to shut me out. I'm going to lean more towards that. And then make an ask, right? There's nothing wrong with making an ask. And all that is why not consider me as a backup option? I totally understand that you said you want to go with Carlos's, investment company. That's fine. I understand. But if I could at least put my offer on the table for your consideration, it maybe would give you something to think about, right? Do you guys have any questions so far?
Not me. Really good stuff, man.
All right. Somebody says, I'm not ready to sell. I hear that one all the time. Like, hey, listen, I think I'm going to probably sell it in 6 to 8 months, right? And again, this is not meant to be your entire conversation. This is meant to be what you say if this comes up in the conversation. Because if somebody gets on the phone with me and says that they want to sell, they want to get information about their home today, but they don't want to sell it for 7 or 8 months, I can't accept that. And that's not something that's going to get put into my pipeline for constant follow up. I've got to get them to have a little bit more of a sense of urgency now, right? So I maybe want to directly challenge their readiness by saying something like, Carlos, I understand if you're not ready, but wouldn't it be better to at least explore your options now?
It's a trip
So that way we're prepared for the future. The market's always changing. Whoever's not muted,
1990 all the way today.
All right.
Every year, I have made more money.
Are you there to mute? I think it's Marianne.
What the external world was happening. I even made more money.
All right. Anyways, thank you.
I'm so sorry. That's me. I'm so
That's
sorry.
all right. Just throw yourself on mute. It's all good.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
All right. So listen, I'm not ready to sell right now. I understand you're not ready. Wouldn't it be better to explore the options now, Carlos? And that way we're prepared for the future. The market's constantly changing. What I want them to do is give me a commitment that they're willing to hear me out, right? This is just keeping them on the hook to try and get us talking numbers eventually. I don't want them to shut down my conversation because that's really what objection handling is. It's the seller trying to interrupt the sales process and us finding a way to get out, sweep the road clean, and say, now we're going to keep going, right? So the next part of that is offer immediate value. And the reason why is, again, if they're asking for a number today, but talking about not selling it for months out, why not take advantage of the potential opportunity now, Carlos? I mean, if we know that we want to move to Texas, either way to be with the family, and we know that right now might be the best time to sell because there's so much uneasiness with the economy and everything after this election, it seems like moving forward today might be the best option. I mean, and then ask for the deal, right? Carlos, if I can make it like an irresistible offer that fits your future plans, would you consider moving forward? I mean, there's no harm in discussing it, right? It's just inviting that conversation. Again, we're sweeping the road clean, keep on driving down the sales process avenue. Sometimes we'll hear things like, I've had bad experiences in the past. Perfectly fine. I understand. Listen, especially if these people are trying to sell the house. If these people have put the house on like Zillow as like a for sale by owner, or if they're on like a pre-foreclosure list, if they're on like a big tax lien list, something like that, you, your neighbor, your enemy, your friendly, and everybody else you can think of has probably already called, text, messaged these people, sent them mail, you know, peeped out their kid's school. I don't know what, but I know that these people are getting hit up a lot, right? And sometimes that creates bad experiences or a bad taste in somebody's mouth. So the first thing to think about with that is you got to reassure them with some confidence. You got to make sure that you can offer something that's like a concrete guarantee to get them excited about it. And then we got to push for a commitment, right? What does that sound like? Give me 1 second. Sorry, I'm just. All right, sorry. I was trying to get my phone to shut up. So again, what does that sound like? I can understand what would make you cautious, Carlos. I know what we've talked about, but I can assure you, I would prioritize your satisfaction. And if I show you why this would be a different experience, would you consider moving forward with me? If we have to offer them a concrete guarantee to ease your worries, how about I guarantee you, Carlos, that our process will be completely transparent? In fact, let's get a deal that feels right, and I'll make sure you won't regret it. I'll walk you through every step of the process, step by step. Plus, we're going to be in constant communication. And then if I have to, I need to push for a commitment. Listen, Carlos, I understand that you had bad experiences in the past, but since you're here now, I'm here now, let's take a real step forward towards a successful transaction together. If I proved you that we can do it right this time, would you at least give me an opportunity to give you an offer? Right? And again, all I'm trying to do is clean the road, move forward down the sales process lane. Because we might not be at a time where it's right to close, but we might be, this isn't necessarily closing as in like you present them an offer and this is what they're saying back to you. This is closing as in we're going through the call and I say, hey, if we can make a number that works good for you and good for me, I'd be ready to move forward. Would you? And they say, well, I don't know. I've had bad experiences in the past. I'm not sure if I'd be ready to. This is how I'd answer it. And I'd say, okay, the buying temperature is not there yet. They're not ready for a deal. So again, I'm going to clean the road, clear the objection, and then move forward. Yeah, Carlos.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of questions about objections that in the chat. I don't want you to go ahead and respond right now, but that brought me to a question myself. Like I heard once that like you can find, I don't know, 100 different things people can say, and you can position them in just like 6 or 10 common ones. So I was wondering if the ones that you've mentioned them, or I mean the ones that you've mentioned already, like if they can be classified in the different ways to say the same thing. Just kind of like putting it out there in case you want to share your experience with that.
Let me make sure I understand what you're saying correctly. You're saying that there's lots of different objections that people can give you, but they all boil down to the same basic couple
Exactly.
things. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
just big variations of
It's
the same thing.
it's priority, affordability, meaning monetary issues, like they either offers too low, it's not, the right terms, whatever it might be. Priority, affordability, not in the market to sell. They need to think about the offer. They need to talk to their spouse. It's always going to be one of those 5 things.
Okay, cool.
And that's why a lot of times when you'll be teaching like selling technique, like at least for me, I always teach people that you're trying to remove their pants, which means you're trying to take. So a lot of times they're called the 5 lies, right? The 5 lies of selling is priority, affordability, not in the market. Think about it in spouse. So what we're trying to do is trying to take away their PANTS, trying to take their pants off, meaning we're trying to take away those objections from being able to come up. So that's why it's important during that discovery call. Great question, by the way. That's why it's important during that discovery call to dig into things like, what are you planning on doing with the money? Why do you want to sell the property? What's the next step? How much money do you still have a mortgage on the property? How much money do you owe on the mortgage? Do you need all the money up front? I mean, wow. So you have like $150,000 in equity. Do you need like all that money up front, or like were you just using like a certain chunk of it to kind of move forward in life? I want to dissect all of that information during the discovery call, because I can use that to be taking away the priority, the affordability, the not in the market, the think about it, the spouse, the entire time. The more information I can uncover, the more I can, get them to where they agree on my terms or conditions of a deal. Excuse me. Make sense? All
A
right,
lot of
last one. Last one, guys. I know we got to wrap this up, but retail price, it's a very common one anymore. We live in a reactionary market. People are getting used to the idea of being able to jump onto Zillow and Redfin and be like, look, honey, our house is worth $500,000. And it's like, well, no, the $500,000 house has 2 more bedrooms, is 1,000 square feet nicer or bigger, and it's brand new. Your place is worth 260. So when they say things like, I want retail price, we do have to challenge their thinking, right? Because like we said yesterday, the mind's like a parachute. It only works when it's open. So we have to get them to try and kind of open up their mind to the idea that maybe that's not necessarily a reality, especially when we start to understand the mechanics of the deal. Because sometimes they're saying that they want some astronomical price because they've already talked to a realtor, and the realtor's told them, if we sell it at this, you would have to bring this many $1,000 to the closing table, just because they're selling the home for maybe less than what would pay off the mortgage, pay for the realtors, etc. So sometimes they have elevated prices because of that reason, or because of another financial reason. It's not always just that there's some crackpot that has some crazy high number that doesn't make sense. So if if we're going to try and challenge their thinking, we need to first, again, agree with them. So it'd be something like, Carlos, hey, I get it. I mean, retail price sounds great to everybody, but do you understand the costs involved with going that route? I mean, if we compare what you'd get selling at retail versus my cash offer, could I at least show you that? Because again, I'm going to use numbers that are in my favor. I'm going to be using numbers. They're not a real estate professional. They don't do transactions on a daily basis. So it's not that uncommon to say, the national average is you're going to pay about 8 to 10% of the sales price of the home is what's going to be paid between commissions, inspections, repairs, and appraisals. I think we should go with a right down the middle number of 9%. Well, 9% off of a number is a pretty big chunk, especially if then we start talking about, plus we're going to have to make the repair to the roof that we need. We're going to have to do this. We're going to have to do that. It's easy for me to get to where I'm saying, I understand. It sounds great, the potential to maybe make an extra $28,000. But what would that peace of mind be in knowing that we don't have to worry about the inspections? We don't have to worry if it's even going to appraise for that amount, and we're back to the drawing board. We don't have to worry about the rush of trying to find another house and hoping that ours is going to sell, might sell, could sell. We can alleviate all of that stuff. Now, I understand the extra 25,000 sounds pretty good, but if there was a way I could maybe sweeten my offer a little bit and get my offer a little closer to your number, would you be okay with that? They're always going to say yes, right? Highlight the pros of selling quickly. Sorry, I can't see the chat right now. It's not showing up. Oh, there I
I
got it. But
can read it to you if you want.
I'll look at it here in a second.
Okay.
But again, just the last things on here is highlight the pros of selling quickly, right? While retail prices can be tempting, Carlos, the hassle of dealing with the repairs, the showings, and the waiting is just exhausting. I mean, if I can offer you cash today, how much would you value that convenience? And then make the deal tangible for them. How about we take a closer look at my offer, Carlos, and tailor to your needs specifically? I mean, if I can get you a strong cash offer to ensure everything moves quickly, would that change your perspective on the price? Would the convenience of that be worth something to you, et cetera, et cetera? And then at the end, it just says, by taking a more aggressive approach, right? Now, again, we don't want to be aggressive throughout the entire call. We want to be empathetic, kind, and understanding. But by taking a more aggressive approach to the objection, you can encourage the sellers to overcome their objection and move towards a successful deal effectively. Because if you use active listening to allow the seller to fully voice any and all concerns or objections they have, by not feeling rushed or like overwhelmed, that seller is going to naturally be more inclined to trust you. They're going to be more inclined to open up, to dig deeper on pain points, to uncover the real motivation. They'll probably become more agreeable to even a price reduction. Sometimes they do that on their own, and they'll ultimately discuss more opportunities, more ways to help you move towards getting a deal. So with that, that's all I had to say. I know Esteban said he wanted me to keep it at 45 minutes tonight, so I'm sorry I'm a little bit over, but yeah, okay, so let me just go through some of these, right? Okay, so Andrew Flores, if you're still on here, I regularly hear I already have an offer of retail price. Oh, great. Why didn't you take it? Again, I mean, I know it sounds goofy, but sometimes closing boils down to, even if you're Marianne, I'm sorry, sometimes you got to reach down, kind of grab your cojones or your female cojones and be like, nah, I call bullshit. You know what I mean? And I don't mean it as in like being rude or being like objectionable to the person, but you have to be able to say like, okay, so you're telling me you have a full retail price offer and you didn't take it yet? Why?
Cash.
You know,
I
okay, sure. Why didn't you take it? I would have taken the money and run. What
Yeah.
are you waiting for? You know?
Hey, Jesse, sorry, I can't, I can't help not to share, but I literally had that call today because I was working with this person and, thinking that he can kind of outsmart me. He said that I have a retail. So why can't you offer me the same? I'm like, why didn't you take that? So why are you still getting a hold of me? So I can definitely relate. Sorry, I can't
Yeah.
help not to share.
Yeah, so the way I normally handle those, Andrew, is I'll usually kind of mock it and I'll be like, well, listen, if you have a retail offer in place and you're not accepting that, I don't know what you'd be on the phone with me for. Because I can promise you two things. One, I'm going to eat a good dinner tonight. And two, I'm not going to offer you retail price. So if you still want to talk to me, by all means, I'd love to hear about the house. But just being honest with you up front, there's no way I'd be able to come to that number. Do you still want to tell me a little bit about the house? If they say yes, then guess what? I just called bullshit and they said, yeah, I still want to move forward.
The seller's a real estate agent too, but it's a divorce, so I think she needs a cash offer.
Sure. So, I mean, again, in that case, I'd be like, right. So you understand I'm an investor, right? And she's going to, yeah. Okay. What investor do you know that would be interested in paying a cash offer? If you're a real estate agent and you do that full time for a living, you understand the value of cash as opposed to a conventional finance. And you also understand what a hard money loan, private money loan is. So you know that if I'm offering you a cash offer, I'm doing that with the intention of buying this with either hard money or private money. So why would you think I would pay retail price? List it and sell the house. You're an agent. And now, if you want an investor offer with no hassles, no appraisals, no inspection, and a close within the next 2 weeks, then by all means, I'd love to talk to you about the property. But that's your decision to make.
Sounds like with professionals, you need to be more direct.
Yeah, absolutely. I would almost start laughing if somebody told me they were a real estate agent and wanted retail price. I'd be like,
Oh,
what?
they didn't tell me. I just recognized we recognized her name because we're in the industry. So
Yeah. I mean, I would call her out on it and be like, listen, you understand that we're like trying to buy it as an investment. Explain to me, if you've been in real estate for longer than 2 weeks, how would I be able to refinance that out of that? Let's say I was able to get 80%. Why would I put that 20% out of pocket when I could go buy 3 other properties as an investor that I wouldn't have to put any money out of pocket with?
Mhm.
And I would make them fight for my business rather than me trying to fight for the deal. And by fight for my business, I would just be, listen, I have a great solution. I can offer you a cash deal. But, it would have to make sense for me. Or, the other option is just ask, you could also ask an agent directly, like, do you just need it under contract to help with like court proceedings or something like that? Because if she just needs it under contract and is open to trying to wholesale it or something like that, that's a whole different option, you know. Or if she's open to doing a subject to, that really kind of gets into more of the structures and the mechanics of the deal. But let me see what some of these other ones say. Jesse, what's your best advice for those that say, well, I don't know. They'd have to finish that sentence. You had that objection earlier. Call them back. Okay. Have been thinking of, I have been thinking of selling, but I want to know for sure how much my property is worth. Well, you know, at the end of the day, let's just jump into that real quick, right, Danny? So, hey, I totally understand. Have you ever bought a car before, Danny? Did you walk on the car lot and tell them how much the car was gonna sell for, or did they put a price on it? So you had to ask them what they wanted for it before you could start to negotiate, right? Because if it was a great deal, you probably wouldn't have cared about negotiating at all. Well, it's kind of the same for me. I'm not going to just walk on and throw out a price because I don't want to insult you and I don't want you to feel like I'm trying to be rude. But at the same token, my monetary and fiduciary responsibility is to the company. My job is to try and buy the best asset for the cheapest amount of money as possible. So if you want me to just come to you with a price, okay, I'll give you $1. You know, we can start from there. But if you want to make it a little bit of an easier and smoother process for us to be able to work through this together, I just need you to kind of give me a starting point. Let me know what you're thinking. I mean, I know I told you typically we're buying properties in that area between like 130 to 150,000. I mean, if we could be somewhere in that ballpark, could we move forward today? And I'm going to bring out the objection from them, you know, and dig into what it is. This is the home I grew up in. Why should I get less than blank, blank, blank? Hey, listen, I totally understand that you have probably, gosh, decades worth of memories and love and joy and happiness that was experienced in that home. But at the end of the day, you know, all things do come to an end. All things must pass. And given the home's current state and condition, I think we can probably agree that the only two options would be for either us to find the money to fix up the home so that it can be enjoyed again as a family home that creates love, joy, and memories, or we need to come to terms with the fact that we're going to have to sell that home to where somebody else can turn it into that again, because we can't just allow the home to continue to deteriorate. So, Danny, I'm not trying to take away from the memories and the love and the joy that you had there. I'm just trying to help facilitate somebody else getting to experience the same things there. And in order for me to do that, I'm going to have to put a lot of money into it. And that money is not free, neither is my time or my work. I got to be able to make a living. And that's where the profit comes in at. But if I can get you that amount of money and get you out of here, you can get on to your next chapter as well. And you can get back to worrying about creating love and joy and memories in a new place while I dig into this and have to go through all the old. So what do you say, Danny? If we can get you to start creating some new joy and memories and being happy somewhere else, and we can come through and get you the offer of blank, can we go ahead and move forward today?
Yeah, see,
And that's how I handle it.
No,
you
that's
just
perfect.
disarmed me. That is great stuff.
Perfect pitch
I mean,
there,
you
Jesse.
exceeded the
Awesome.
response I was looking for sure, man. This is
All right, well,
great, valuable
I'll,
stuff.
I'll send you over the contract. Just give me the address of
I
where your
have
family
have a
lives.
really important
Ready
thing to
to
say.
sign.
Go ahead, Carlos.
Jesse, so I have a comment and a question.
Mm-hmm.
The comment is, what I'm hearing is when you get these off responses, is either because it's a one-off, like a professional or someone really not that interested in selling today or something, or is because maybe we're using a script that creates those objections because we're not in control of the call. So that's what I'm thinking, because ideally the objections that should come up should be the ones in this list, the most common ones. That's the way I like to see it. And the question is, if those objections that are one-off objections do come out, I'm having trouble understanding how you do it. Like, I know that you say a comment, you say an analogy, and then at the end you kind of like ask a question. but I'd be interested, not if you don't have it today, but later in a future call, in understanding how you improvise so well.
Truthfully, 22 years of doing this shit. I mean,
Yeah, but give us a I don't know, a hack or something.
you know, the hack is just I treat everything with honestly, there is no hack. You know what, you want to know what the hack is? I talk to everybody like they're my family member and like they've known me my whole life.
Okay.
I mean, you see it. You've done private calls with me before. Like, I don't have the professional Jesse and the private Jesse. Like, there's just Jesse. So, like, if I was sitting here talking with my family and they said something to me, I'd be like, well, this is how I'd answer it the exact same way. Like, you just, what do you mean? You got to do this, 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 and I just try and have normal conversations with people, man. I try and honestly just be as kind and understanding as I can with folks. But also, I have goals, and my goals involve Benjamin Franklin and as many of them as I can stack up in a place that they can make, go disappear into the megaverse or multiverse and come back as more. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it is just hearing people out, meeting people where they are, having a good conversation with somebody. That's really always been my secret to closing. Like, even when I was in the vacuum sales business, I mean, I would have guys that would go in and do demos, and the people would be like, look, just get the F out of my house. Like, I don't want you here. And they'd be like, okay, cool. I'll call my manager and he'll come pick me up. And I'd come in, and within like 5 minutes, the people would be like, all right, we'll write you a check for it. I'd be like, go ahead and unpack that shit. Like, they're going to buy it. A lot of times it was just, there's no salesman-y approach. Like, it's what's going on. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've called sellers like, hell yeah, man, I hear you, brother. Like, or, like, I mean, I've done everything from be up in like a crack house where it's like, it's sketchy as heck to be there. And I'm like looking at the electrical system, like I shouldn't even be in this block or this neighborhood. But I treat everybody the exact same. I just try and have a good conversation with anybody I talk to. And I look at it like whatever objection somebody gives you, that doesn't fit in with your plan. When I get on the phone, my plan is I want to buy your house. So any objection you give me that doesn't coincide with I want to buy your house, like I'm not going to accept that. Like, doesn't mean you're going to sell me your house, but as long as we understand each other from the get-go that I'm here to buy your house, like, I would love to go watch my TV. I'd love to be out, on my boat. I'd love to be able to doing other things. But if I'm on the phone with you, it's because I want to buy your house. So therefore, I'm going to be the nicest, friendliest version of myself I can. But like, I want to buy your house. So
But you're also not afraid to lose the deal, man. I mean,
no, what do I care? What would you care if you don't get a deal? It's like I got a lead today. The woman cursed me up one side and down the other. I got off the phone laughing so hard about it. I'm like, lady, you just filled your information in on Facebook. No, I didn't. Okay. How did I get your name, your phone number, your address, your email? Like how many bedrooms it is, how many bathrooms it is. Like it didn't appear out of midair. I don't care, asshole. Don't call me again. All right, thank you. Click. What do I 30 seconds before I got the lead, I didn't know who Suzanne Smith from Carlisle, Pennsylvania was. And 30 seconds after I hung up with her, I didn't care. So like if I lose a deal because of me being me, oh well, like tough cookies, but that's just how it goes. But listen, guys, I know we're over time. I apologize about that. I know Esteban wanted me to keep it at 45 minutes, but hopefully he won't be too upset. If anybody has any questions or comments, concerns, by all means, feel free to say them. I'll answer them super quick. But otherwise, I appreciate everybody that joined. And if you need anything, by all means, reach out to me. Hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, the Facebook group, or just text me directly. Whatever. I try and get back to people pretty quick. So, Marianne, I saw your message on Messenger.
So much.
I've just had a crazy busy afternoon. Like I had a listing go live this morning. The townhouse that I renovated, a flip I just did. So today was the first day, and so far we had 5 showings and 2 offers. So
Oh,
it's like a
congrats.
lot of like I'm not accepting any of the offers yet. I want to wait and play it out through at least the weekend just to see if I can get multiple like strong offers, because both of these were one of them was an FHA, and the other one was a conventional loan, but they were asking for seller assistance on their down payment. And I think I'm going to be able to get an above ask offer on it. So I want to just wait and see if I can get a stronger offer, but it's just kind of kept me jockeying the phones and doing everything else. That deal though, just we can talk about it really quick. I'll have to get back to you on it. So I had already called the guy because I didn't like two of the things. I was going to take it down for myself. And then I was like, I don't know. And like, I didn't like two of the answers that he gave me on things, which was, would he be willing to raise the rent before I take possession of it, on the cheap tenant? And he was like, well, I'd rather wait until you own it and then help you with raising the rent. And I was like, I get that, but like, I don't want to be the guy that buys it and then month one is like, hey, good news, your rent just went up $200.
Right.
So I kind of paused the deal and I told the guy I needed a week or two to think about it. Just because I didn't want to tie up my own capital on the deal because I was working a few other things, and it was going to be one where I just bought it with my own money. But I think I can probably get it back. I know he was talking to another investor, but he said that guy was down in Florida and they were having issues. But I'll call the guy tomorrow and see if I can get the guy back on the hook. And worst case scenario, maybe we just JV on it or something, put it under contract together and just work it like that. So
Okay, I may have a prospect, so I will have a meeting with her tonight at 9 o'clock, and I'll keep you posted about that then.
all right, 10-4.
Uh-huh.
All right, guys, listen, if nobody else has anything, I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jesse.
And,
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. Wonderful
Jesse,
session.
this
Thank you
all
much.
right, guys,
was
have a
an
great night. See ya.
amazing
See you all.
session. Thank you
Thanks.
very
Ciao,
much.
ciao.